Okay. All right, guys. Hi, we're recording. Welcome to your third session with Siri. I apologize for the hold up last week. We are going to try and make that up as we discussed on our Thursday meeting. But I wanted to get going right into this third lesson. So if you remember from week two, we had our gestures. The next week we had our silhouette exercise. And so then this week we're doing a contour exercise. I'm sure you guys have done contour before in any of your drawing classes from any subject matter, but I think doing contour exercises from the human body is an invaluable way to spend some time as a young artist. You'd be surprised the subtleties and nuances of a line, and I can really just equate contour to another thing where you have to put in the time to really build that skill. So the more contours you can do from humans, the better. When you guys are doing this exercise at home, the beauty about this is it's not going to benefit you any greater to be looking at an entire figure. Unlike most of the skills I'm trying to push on you guys in this class, contour is just about identifying that one line. So you can do it from your hand, you can do it from your foot, maybe somebody's napping. You just have to be very sincere and really focus on what you're doing, because there's really no point in doing this exercise without sincerity. It is just a complete skill acquisition exercise. So in my class, and what I would like you guys to do, is spend some time doing some various contour exercises. And let's talk a little bit about contour. So if you can see my drawing pad. All right, so let's say this is an apple. This is a contour, but it's also an edge. We know sometimes apples have a little divot. This is a contour. When we're thinking of a human figure, let's do a leg because I feel good about this musculature. So these are edges, but this is also a contour if you were imagining a globe, for instance, right? We know a globe has our radiuses, all right? Same thing with, any sort of human. Your contour is going to go over form in a very described way. You can think about it just like this globe. I like to tell my students to imagine a little bug or a little skiing man over form. You're just trying to identify the three-dimensional track of form with the conception of line. All right, so I can feel this swell. What's another good example? How about like an avocado, right? So a contour, still an outline, an outer edge, but something like this, right? So again, I know you guys have all, if you had me for foundations, 3D foundations, this should be reminiscent of your cardboard exercise, right? When we made the ribs and the spines of things. But simply spoken, you're just conceptualizing form with line. And again, so you can see the benefit of working from human forms is you start to have this three-dimensional map, this generalized three-dimensional map, if you spend enough time looking at human figures. So there's a couple things that we do to work on this skill. When I'm doing a contour exercise, let's see, I'm going to show you Siri. I have her on the couch. This is just going to be a very simple demonstration of this exercise that you can do in home. Again, you can pick a plant, you can pick a pet, you can pick a chair, anything. But if you do have some human anatomy to be working from, it will just help you to hone that sensitivity to human line. There are certain characteristics about the lines you find in the human body that if you study them enough, you will start to, it'll just come to you second nature. So I do encourage you to find, you can look at your hand, your foot, all right? But the first thing I want you to do is called a blind contour study, a blind contour study. And what that means is I'm imagining a point on Siri, right? I'm thinking of like a little bug or a little skiing man, and I'm just really taking my time. Again, the point of this exercise is sincerity. I could rush through this, make a bunch of scribbles, and I'd get nothing out of it. But if I'm really trying to hone my skill set and I'm really trying to get better understanding the simple forms of human anatomy, I want to spend extra time really observing these sensitive lines. So when you're doing a blind contour, I want you to just pick any point, any contour. Just saying something real quick about this. In a lighting situation like this, you can identify a contour really easy from the light side and the dark side, right? That is the apex, top, apex. The apex of form where the light is breaking, right? We see the light breaking on her thigh, for instance. We could be studying that contour. That's a contour, right? We just know that that is a point of form because the light is describing it. So in all of these situations, choosing your contour is up to you. I like to do shadow contours, edge contours. You can, it's a very helpful contour in terms of figurative anatomy if you want to study, is that medial line. That medial line that runs from your clavicle, down your abdomen, all the way to your symphysis pubis. You can study the medial line on your head. Those are very helpful contours. So take some time this weekend or whenever you get to this exercise and have some fun choosing your subjects and have some purpose. Like I want to get better at this. Maybe I'm going to do my hand, Maybe I'm going to really study a skull, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so when you do this blind contour, I'm going to isolate a point on Siri. I think I'll just do that medial line because it's, she's seated right now and it would be a good thing for me to study just how that medial line is going down her torso. So a blind contour, you might figure, implies being blind, but the idea is you don't want to look at your paper, okay? We're not trying to make beautiful lines. This is purely an exercise that the only benefits you are going to see are up in here, all right? So I want to isolate a point on Siri. I'll start at that clavicle, and I am not, see if you can see my page. I am not looking at my page. If you find yourself cheating, like it's hard not to just peek down sometimes in these early stages. But you can arrange it so your hand is kind of further back behind you. You can put your board like this. I'll often have my students actually go like this so they're not tempted to look at the line they make. So do your best to not look, okay? Do your best to not look at that line because it's just about sincere observation. You really want to imagine that little bug crawling over your chosen contour or your little skiing man. It's sometimes fun to think of it like a little skiing man because contours can also have rhythms to them, right? And a skiing man is going to move over things. So if there's a long, graceful movement, you can sort of feel that energy. If there's something maybe going over some bones or something, a little more craggly, you can feel that too. But if you haven't been noticing, I want you to notice the speed of my hand. I am probably literally going the miles per hour of a small bug, right? Like I am in it. I am imagining this point. And then let's say your contour comes to a natural breaking point. Maybe you've ended at a finger, or I've passed her belly button. Okay, move on to another one. Let's see, can you see this? There's a beautiful shadow on her knee that's described. You see, that's a contour. That's describing form, light describing form, and that just happens to be one of the contours, just like that little globe I just drew. All right, so I'm going to pick that point right there at the end of the knee. And I'm sincerely studying. I'm sincerely looking at that organic movement. You're going to start to notice lines maybe aren't always as you imagine them to be, like, wow, that's got a little swell there that I didn't expect. Or, you know, gosh, that foot turns in that weird way. I think contour is excellent. Can you see? I think contour, in addition to our silhouette exercise, contour is a great exercise for foreshortening. If you guys have issues with foreshortening, study the contours. You know, here again, look at Siri's knee that's facing us, right? If I was to just draw that shape, you wouldn't even expect that that was a knee. It just looks kind of like some fish, ghost, I don't know. But when that's combined with the other information you provide in the drawing, because that contour is so accurate, people will understand that that's that form compressed, right? So contour is very important. I like to mix up these exercises, some fast, some slow, and I do think some have kind of an order that you might want to stick to, but there's no prescribed order. And I think as long as you have all these sorts of ideas and skills, when you go to draw a figure from life, it'll serve you well. All right, ended on that hip. Okay, so you guys get the idea of blind contour. It is just purely for yourself. All right, so spend 20 minutes, spend 30 minutes. You know, again, I want to see those 5 pages in your sketchbook just to demonstrate you're working through these issues. But I also want you to try some visual contours. Do you want to switch a pose, Siri? Just something? Go ahead and give us a little, perfect. Anything that's comfy. All right, so I also want you to try just, I don't know, I guess just regular contours. And the idea is still the same. You don't want to be focused on your drawing, right? So you don't want to be attempting to be perfectly accurate, I suppose, in making a drawing. This is still an endeavor in purely observational study. So you still want to, I'm going to do this a little quick, but let's say I found this contour and I liked it and I'm going faster than a bug, so don't ever do this. But then I stop at this point in her leg, again by her knee, because there's a natural break to that contour. Then you can look down at your paper and identify a new contour to work from. Again, you guys might have done this with your hand. It's a pretty common exercise. And these do, you know, you get stuff like that. You get crossovers and all sorts of things kind of look like they're meant to, but not really, because again, you're just endeavoring to study. Let's do one again on that thigh. And I'll take it very seriously this time. I think contour exercises are a great exercise on the hip. The pelvic bone really has like a lot of subtle shifts. There's a lot of flatness in contours that you might not expect. So really look for those. I mean, they're just super subtle, super subtle shifts. But those subtleties are what make all the difference, you know. Now, we talk about working organically and from the inside out. And this is like super nitpicky, right? But I think working in a skill like this, for when you start to get to those more finished drawings, is really going to serve you well. Especially when we start moving in. So, okay, I'm going to look down. It's, you know, definitely the angle's off, but I'm going to start again on that calf. And I want you to try and keep thinking as three-dimensionally as possible. You could do some, so let's say I'm going to pick back up and I'm going to do the lower contour now. Just pretend I did that. Pretend I did that foot. Just going to study my lower contour. And you want to sort of get a feel for the time spent, you know, on various parts. Is it a very long contour? Is your little bug having to walk very far? Or is it a relatively quick contour with quick, sharp turns that maybe doesn't take quite as long to do? Okay, something like that. Hi, Chris, how's it going? But so you want to, I think another fun thing to practice with contour is to think of, again, some of these cross contours. So, that little avocado. So, let's say we're thinking of an avocado, right? Any form of Siri, maybe it's her torso or something. But you might consider like a long contour, this longer contour of a leg. Thinking of cross contours or sort of these shorter contours. So if you were to say, look at your arm, thinking about this longer contour, but then all these little cross contours, right? So, go back. So again, in this semi-blind contour exercise, I've studied a contour, not looking at my paper. I've reverted my eyes back to my paper once I find a natural stopping point, start up again. But it's still, you know, it's not accurate because I'm just studying that leg. But if we're going back to this series back leg, going back to that back leg. All right, so I'm going to, can you see? Yep. I'm going to take up a point on that calf. And now, you know, this is really good to do on longer forms like this because it really helps you become more aware. I think when forms are smaller, like our arms and legs, it's kind of easy to flatten them out. People seem to understand the three-dimensionality of a torso really well. Like, you know, we just do. We can understand volume, space, volume. But I find legs become a little flattened out. So doing some of these cross contours on legs or arms is a great way to study the nuances of sort of that more subtle anatomy, really, I think. I think that's the best way. It's just a little bit more subtle, so it's harder to fully conceptualize the form. I can see another contour on that shin. You know, not all contours are outlines. All outlines are contours. Let's see. Here's a contour I can see of her shin, right? But it's just like, it's not an outline, it's not the edge of form, but it's a point where I can feel form changing. Again, I'll use the term apex. very frequently. That's just the top. All right, so when I feel the apex of that form, I can feel the form changing over that subtle curve of her shin bones. All right, so why don't you take a little break, Siri? So you guys, that's really all there is to it. I'm going to start a long drawing with Siri, one that really highlights the benefit of thinking about contours. And I'm going to talk to you guys while I do it. But I think that should be a pretty thorough demonstration of contours. If you guys have any other questions, just let me know. But really, it's just about active study, right? Active study. And again, try and find some human anatomy to work from. So I will get set up for this long drawing in just a second. I'm just going to let the camera roll. I'll be back with you guys in just a minute.
Leave their drawing pads?
Huh?
Students just leave their drawing pads?
Yeah.
That's such a waste.
Yeah, I know. It is a little, you'd be surprised. Students will leave canvas, students will leave supplies. I always try and recycle these. Actually, that reminds me, I wanted to take some for some stuffing today. So let's see. 1, 2. Let's do a nice long drawing. So I just want something very simple. I'm going to adjust the light so you get some nice contours on your torso.
You prefer to be on that side, so.
I like you on that side. I like you kind of tucked away from me. Let's see what we can, something just like super comfortable, because this will be a long one, Siri, and really I just, like that's lovely. So, what did you, go ahead and finish your.
No, I'm completely comfortable with this. Just like, is it enough for you?
Let's see your arm on the top of the couch and your hand like that. Oh, that was kind of, can you bend your wrist? No, elbow back out a little more. Something like that, but a little less unnatural. Yeah, I think you had it like that. Can you elevate that wrist just a little where it's not weird? Does that feel?
Yeah, this is it. You holding it like.
It's like the thing from the Addams Family. Kind of, yeah, if you're gripping the couch, maybe, I just had some nice light under your wrist that was very pretty. But flatten your wrist out. This is so ridiculous. But it was a really nice hand. Okay, elbow back in a little. And okay, hand just like it is, but see if you can elevate. Perfect. Back down a little. Right there. That feels like how you would hold a couch. Okay, just that tiny. So you guys, this is what you think about when you're setting up a drawing, right? Like I just really liked this tiniest little bit of light that was reflecting off the couch on Siri's hand. Why? I don't know, because it describes form, because it helps push the space for me. Think about all these things when you're setting up for drawings. Okay, but your one, yeah, let's do something different with your legs. Oh, that was, okay, this is nice, but this wants to fall over.
Yeah.
If it falls over, is that uncomfortable?
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, can we bend that leg up? All right, now maybe bring that arm down, or maybe over your head. You can wear it, just, yeah, I don't mind losing your hand on that one. Maybe stretch that leg out a little too far. It slips though, right? Where does it not slip? Okay. All right, now just Can you, so I like where you are right now. Can you, your knee that's bent towards me, can you push it down just a little bit so I get your thumb? Okay, can you push your elbow back just a smidgen? And then maybe lean your head into your arm. Is that kind of, that's a little too far here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncomfortable.
Maybe lower your, I mean, I like the way your leg is right now with your other leg feels nice. So is there some way to get your head more comfortable for you? I bet you if we had a pillow or something, that would do the trick, but.
This is fine. This is okay for you to draw.
Well, your head does look a little cramped. Okay, can you, yeah, what about more of a stretch? That's, okay, that's, I actually really like that. How does that feel? Can you tuck your hand a little further back? Your arm a little more vertically? All right, what about across your abdomen? No, that was really nice. Let's put your arm back up.
Yeah, because if it's like this, I mean, I can hold it in place like this. I just know I'm gonna lose circulation. And also, this is like a strange way.
Yeah, that it looks strange. All right, well, what can we do with that arm? That seems, what would you do with that arm if you flopped on the couch like this?
This, this.
That actually, yeah, really, that looks probably.
This is cool. You have to do this.
It is. Holding your hair is nice.
I can hold this for a while.
Does he? Okay. Okay. I like that. You have nice shapes. Okay. All right, you guys. And I'll hold this up periodically, like I do. And a little bit of Siri. Okay. This, that seems pretty good. There, perfect. Okay, excellent. Get one. Add back. Let's see, how does this one feel? Do you think we could do this one for 25 minutes?
Yeah, we can do this for longer.
You think 30? Okay, let's try 30 to start. I'll let you know 20 minutes and see if we can go another 10. All right. All right, you guys. So, I've been talking about some of the things I'm thinking about when I'm trying to draw Siri. There's beautiful shapes. I don't even have to adjust the light. I really like the light that I'm seeing right now. And there's a lot of beautiful contours, you know, thinking about things that we were just talking about. I don't really know if I can get this back to be perfect, but I think you can see some of these beautiful contours from Siri, right? We have a really nice one again on her knee. We're describing that little break in the patella, right? Down to our tibia, a beautiful, graceful, swooping motion. So a lot of great contours on this. But I'm just keeping that skill. Remember, I'm just keeping that skill in my grab bag of skills. I do not want to start thinking about contours like that too early on. Or I want to think about contours like that, but I don't want to think about perfecting contours like that early on. So again, always framing up my drawing Keeping that picture plane in mind, keeping my picture box, my perceived three-dimensional space in mind, and just thinking about that horizontal and that vertical that we just are able to assess very easily. So first thing I'm going to start with is my gesture. This is a trouble spot, right? That foot's going to want to escape me. Try and keep that foot contained. Because this pose is very horizontal, my figure is actually going to have to be quite narrow in order to be contained within this perimeter. But you see, I'm fleshing it out. I'm getting a sense of the main. There's like a definite curve, simple rainbow curve to this whole pose. Some nice foreshortening. Thinking about my background as I draw. There's a nice, subtle diagonal quality to this couch. Her knee is probably the closest thing to me, and then that foot might be parallel, but to me right now it feels like it's moving back in space a little bit. So I definitely want to get that knee feeling right. Here's a great thing with gesture. Right, I can feel that flick of her foot down there. I want to make sure I have enough room for that. There's some pretty significant space between that thumb and thigh. So use that to correct myself. Looking for that medial line like we just talked about. All right, whenever I get to this point, I definitely want to make sure I take a big step back. A little too. All right, you see I have some guiding lines, but nothing is set in stone. You can't even really see which one I'm deciding on, but I feel confident enough in their proportional relationships to each other. At least nothing is escaping off the page. I like this subtle diagonal. She feels okay in the space. I like this shape compared to all this down here. So, I'm ready to kind of move forward with some more decisions. I did sort of shorten this a little bit to try and get that in the picture plane. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I liked it. We'll see. That's tension, right? But I don't really like that so much. We'll see. Maybe so. All right. So now I'm just going to go and, for instance, let's start out with this contour on this leg right here. I told you all to identify those, but we're not trying to perfect them just yet. But, now I'm kind of working with my big value shapes a little bit. And I'm keeping that contour in mind. You can see clearly where the light is breaking over her knee, down to her ankle, down to her foot. So, oh, it's my compressed. Oh, see, it's compressed. Jeez. That's okay. So look here, here's a value shape. Now this value shape is what's describing the form of this knee. Gets a little tricky when you have like a dark on a dark, right? How to get that definition back. As you saw, that compressed charcoal is a lot darker, and I think that is a great and effective way to get some more darks back in your vine charcoal drawings, but I recommend holding off on the compressed charcoal while you're still moving things around. It is way less forgiving towards movement. So I'm just going through again and trying to kind of get things in the ballpark. I do a lot of drawing like that, paying attention to key movements with gesture, paying attention to big value shapes as early as possible. And I do pay attention to, you know, the temperature of the light in the room. My light source is kind of right on this couch, peak. You can see it, there. You know, so it's right over the peak, apex of this couch. So I'm kind of giving my paper a little vignette just to describe its, you know, location right here. And these are the steps I want you all to take when you're working on your long drawings. Always try and get a good idea of everything as early on as possible, and then refine, refine. Just trying to crunch that head in a little more. Keeping this important knee in focus. So as you can see, sometimes I use negative space to draw the figure. Or to work on that edge contour. Notice I'm not trying to stay in one spot too long. I think that's a big important thing. Try not to get hyper fixated. Try and develop the space as a whole. Because every move you make, as you know, affects the way you see everything else. All right. Still need to work on compressing this abdomen a little. But now is a good time for me to kind of go around and smooth things a little bit. And I think taking moments from time to time for technical cleanup like this, it just helps you keep organized, keep on track a little bit. Sometimes it's possible to lose information, forms, when you're in this stage. So every once in a while, I like to just kind of cement things once I've made a pretty well-reasoned decision about them. And that doesn't mean that they can't change, okay? Remember, always able to change, but sometimes to keep yourself a little organized, this is helpful. Because I think a lot of figure drawing, as you guys are learning more and more with charcoal and other materials, just drawing in general, there's a lot of reductive qualities with paint. Of course, you know, we're kind of taking this painterly approach to drawing. And sometimes going in and oversimplifying and then reducing, I think, is very helpful. Let's see. Now I'm just going in and whittling away and perfecting shapes that I see. Just thinking about the big pattern of values. So easy to correct things, right? Here's another great instance of contour, right? Just where Siri's clothes are, that's the contour that's describing her rib cage. Right there. Trying to flatten that out a little bit, get a little bit more foreshortening on that. And it has been 25, Siri. You okay for 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's some great contours of her rib cage. Our ribs will feel this contour. Alrighty, Siri, let's take a little break. All right, you guys, let's take a look so far. There we go. All right. Working out those big value transitions. I'm still keeping contours in mind, right? I'm thinking about where light is breaking especially. Again, that is a great advantage to that contour exercise is because it's helping us describe form with light. But I'm still not getting too nitpicky. You see, I've considered my space fairly early on, and I'm just sort of assessing value relationships. And still moving stuff around, you know, I have feet to move, hands to move. You all saw me trying to tuck that head in a good bit and turn it down. Y'all saw me move the elbow over there, right? So this is where it's at, and this is the same sort of process I want you to take with your long drawings. This is a little bit of a longer drawing today because contour doesn't take a whole lot of time to demonstrate, but still you're shooting for an hour and a half, 2 hours, hour on your long drawing, and I want y'all to take the same painterly approach. All right. But you have to take a little break, and let's take a good 5-minute break. It's 1:47. We can take a long break after this next round. I'm going to get up and step back because that is helpful. Why did I do that? Because I want to feel there's something about this tension in the head that needs to be reflected and supported by this arm. The longer you work with figures, the more you're gonna just be able to assess these kind of pulls, counter pulls of forces in your anatomy. I know she needs to be propping herself up a little bit more on that elbow. That feels better. And the great thing about charcoal, you'll probably notice I'm using my fingers to describe those movements and form. It's like I'm almost going over these forms sometimes in the direction of the contours that we've been studying, and I'm moving the charcoal. You might have just seen me do that on this foreshortened leg right here. That is very helpful. And that's something that's a beautiful, unique property of charcoal. You can do it with paint too, but you can get a lot of movement with these textures, these remnants of your hand moving over form. So you can really use charcoal to your advantage to sort of really sculpt form, 3D form on 2D surfaces. So my gal is still looking kind of cut out, there's certain edges that are definitely outlines right now and that I'm going to consider removing. That's a good thing to do in this phase, is once you've sort of nailed down different forms, is consider your edges, right? We talked about that with our silhouette exercise. Just keep going, and I'm going to look at this break. What's making this edge of this arm? The light against the couch making the edge, so to speak, of that arm. This contour is too much of an outline, right? So I want to sort of eliminate this with more dark material so that the edge of value is the edge of her form, not that line. You can spot that a lot of times in this side where the light is breaking. Like, I'm not going to feel a super dark outline against this light part of her shin. You'll feel things that look like outlines when a form is kind of in their mid-tone, like this hand right here. Those fingers feel, in reality and in my drawing, they feel a little outlined because they don't have this stark breaking light. And that roundness of form is going to darken a little bit on the edges. If you just look at your forearm in pretty neutral lighting, you're going to notice a subtle darkening around the edges. And you'll see that in a lot of, mid-level lighting situations. But in these high contrast areas, you don't see that too often. So just go through as you're cleaning things up and take special care with your edges. After I stepped back, she's looking, okay. Okay. Maybe I'm going to try and... Her torso is slightly foreshortened to me, and I liked that when I chose this pose, but I want to get just a little bit more shift in her abdomen. We have a lovely connection. That feels a little better. We have a lovely connection where our quadriceps, our big 4 strong leg muscles, meet our pelvic bone. So you can often see a little flatness right there. And just scooting that down. Move that lower leg over. This is the beauty of charcoal and working this way, is because you really take your time to flesh everything out. Yeah, see, look, those shapes are getting nicer shapes. All right. How you doing, Siri? You think we could go for another session? Yep, that looks good. And you're a little lower, you're a little more horizontal towards the couch, so lower your pelvic bone. Yep, perfect. And then, so take both of your feet and scooch them down, okay? Perfect, actually. And maybe that elbow out just a tad. Okay, excellent. Excellent. What do you think, Siri? 30 or 25? Another 30? Okay. Let's see. You know, there's the contour of the couch where the light's breaking, right? The outer edge being a contour, and then this contour, right, where the light is breaking. And just like I'm noticing right here, and in any of those, you know, egg modeling or modeling exercise, you'll often see the darkest value right where that break is, and things will lighten up a little bit in the shadow zone. Intensity, intensity, less intense. Slowly but surely, making progress. Now I'm going to go and sort of compress my charcoal into the paper and just nail down some of these big shapes even more. Cleaning up shapes. Alrighty, Siri, let's take a break. It's 2:12. I know it's a little early, but it's 2:12. If we take a 10-minute break, our midway break, we'll be done at 3:30. All right, guys. We're going to take a little bit of a longer break now. It's about our halfway point. Well, a little longer than that, but we'll get back and keep going, okay? All right. I'm just going to be cleaning up right now, nothing related to the model, so just technical stuff. 10, 15, whatever you need to. Just working out some of the geometry of the couch. little bit of compressed charcoal. I'm gonna go in and start kind of getting at least some definite darks that I know. Oh, never mind. That is a compressed medium gray charcoal. Notice when I can start to turn outlines into value transitions, I really start to get a sense of light. Really challenging not to be able to blow off your charcoal dust. That's such a cute dress, Siri.
Thanks, this is $4.
Nice.
Yeah. Do you usually throw music?
I do. Not always. I put on instrumental music to be.
Oh, like ambient?
Yeah, well, I mean, in my studio, I listen to all sorts of crazy, weird music, but I find instrumental in a classroom setting, or at least for these guys, is the most appropriate. You never
Do you ever
know.
watch television while you make work?
Not really. Do I ever watch TV while I make work?
Do you ever watch TV?
Not really.
Okay.
I watch movies sometimes at night, but I don't really turn on TV until after dinner.
Oh, okay.
That's good though, you guys. Try and watch less TV. But sometimes, yeah, I mean, I do love film. I think film is a really interesting and cool form of art. I'm getting more and more interested in better films, I think, these days. But I do enjoy some downtime at night. But in my studio, I don't have a TV or anything. Mostly music. Mostly music, I'd say. Really, sometimes if I'm working late at night, I listen to really wild, crazy.
To like get you up.
Yeah. My neighbors must think I'm absolutely insane, really.
Wait, so is your studio in your house?
It's in my garage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was one of the big things about getting that house, is it has a little garage space. Um, yeah. It's not, no, I'm from Northern Virginia, from
Oh, okay.
the DC area.
Yeah, my best friend is from McLean.
Okay, yeah, I'm from Fairfax. My mom used to work for the EPA, and my dad worked for the Virginia government. So it's been a little bit of a change coming down here for sure. You're from New York, right? From your area code. It's been a little bit of a change, but there's some really lovely things, I think, in the South. Some not so lovely things.
That's a little bit different.
But definitely a lot of very
I
lovely.
mean, it's better than like the 1940s South.
Yeah, exactly. And and as far as Columbia goes, I think
You don't give enough credit. It's kind of full here.
I think so too. I really do. I think it's cool. We have the rivers, we can be in the mountains, we can be in the beach. Our art scene is trying.
They're trying, yeah.
Yeah.
And like everyone's like, oh, I want to go to Asheville, and I'm like, we're trying here.
We're trying, and you know, I'm excited to hear that About Face is meeting. You hear that, you guys? Our lovely model Siri just told us About Face. That's a model organization group we've talked about before. I think it's $5 still per person. Okay, eight, still very, very reasonable. 8 per person, and you can go draw from a model with a big group. And I think that's the exciting thing too, is, you know, once y'all get out of school, finding an art group is challenging, but I think helpful. Keep y'all motivated. Definitely recommend joining About Face if you're in Columbia for any longer period of time than school, for sure. Do you model for them ever, Siri?
No, I called them and then they told me to come in, but when they told me to come in, COVID shut everything down.
Oh.
So then I actually want to go and draw there.
Me too.
And then see if there's like an opening for a model, you know.
Well, did you talk to a guy named David West,
I
maybe?
think so.
Did he say when the next meeting was, or?
Oh, no, I talked to Eliza about this. Do you know Eliza?
I know
Eliza.
Eliza. Yeah.
She's going, and she said it's just the second and fourth Tuesday of every month, so I'll be there on the fourth Tuesday.
Okay. Oh, I'm gonna text Eliza. Eliza, where are they still meeting at 7:01?
I think so. I don't know. But yeah, I should have gotten her number, but I'll see her on Friday because she's in Boris's class.
That's right. Yeah, she's been both a model and a student of mine, and both a model and a student of his. Yeah, Eliza's a good kid. Yeah, I would love to do that. I think that would be super fun. There's some talented artists here in Columbia, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's why I'm excited about it, because I love like going to figure drawing classes and there being artists who are like infinitely better than me. And they're being like, yes, please.
You learn so much.
Yeah.
Do you have any semesters left in your schooling here? Could you take?
Yeah, I have next semester, and I hope to take a figure drawing class, or just something. The thing is, there's jewelry making, ceramics, and figure drawing, and I gotta pick something.
Well, that is tough. I have heard great things about the jewelry making class. I haven't taken it myself, but I heard great things, and that's kind of a unique little situation. Of course, ceramics, you know, I love with a passion. But of course, I'd also selfishly want you in my class, or you could take Dave's class. I'm sure he'd love to have you. Models are always, I mean, you studied a little bit figure drawing, right? So the fact that you've spent some time modeling and you are a figure drawer, I'm sure you would be a treasure to have in class.
But I think that I want to make silver jewelry, and like I can't set up a welding station at home, so I'd probably take the jewelry making class and then like maybe model again, because I'm still learning things. Like I kind of felt like I was cheating you guys out of something because like I was getting so much information.
I think that's totally resourceful and exactly as you should. So I think you got a good, I would take the jewelry class. I would, why not? Mina's delightful. She was my advisor for my Spark grant. She was a ceramic artist, actually. She knows, and you know, her jewelry is beautiful if you've ever seen it. So do it. That's one good thing about USC is it does have a good bit of materials.
But also, who knows if we're going to have in-person classes? So
I know. And then what are you going to be doing from home? How much seed bead jewelry can you do from home? Well, I hope things turn around. I hope we all get to meet in person again sometime soon, you guys. I'm just happy that we can do something, that Benedict is hiring a model for us. If anything, you guys are able to watch like a bunch of drawing tutorials, which is always fun. Alrighty, Sarah. Well, let's see. Yeah, probably it's 2:36. Probably one more 30 minutes and then a quickie just to finish this up.
what was I doing with this leg?
That guy was up and bent. Your knee was up and cocked to the side. Yep, there you go. Your one foot was a little further past your other, but you were So I think you put your feet closer to the back of the couch. There you go, that feels, but then maybe pull in just a little. Okay, excellent. That hand feels good, and then your head leaning in towards your elbow, kind of. Can you get your head leaning any more? There, that's, maybe you have to put your pelvic scooch up just a tiny, there you, perfect, there we go, that's the ticket, okay. What do you think? Something about your
Something
head.
feels weird, like this area.
Yeah. You had more of a shift, yeah, that shoulder was higher up in that crook of that couch. And then try relaxing that elbow out a little bit. And then relaxing your head into your shoulder. Because you don't have enough room for your head anymore. Your elbow was further out. That I can say for sure. Like your elbow, yeah, it was closer to no, further out that way. So maybe shift towards the, something about that feels right.
Yeah, this is good.
Okay, now we gotta readjust your legs just a little bit. So pull that knee back down. Okay, perfect. And then that hand, just tuck it over the couch a little bit more. Perfect. That's it. Close enough. So now, you guys, I'm just really going through and really honing in those edges. Just and dealing with sort of this technical issue with charcoal. I'm having a little bit of trouble working in a darker dark with this specific vine piece. But you can see I'm trying to incorporate some compressed charcoal in there. So right now I'm just taking my time and trying to render my forms even more thoroughly. I'm still keeping light and that contour in mind that we just look so closely at. So just moving down my figure, I've got some tough value transitions in the legs, this area between the back of the couch and the dark part, the shadow side of her flesh are pretty similar in value. So my observation seems like this edge is a little darker, and that's what's describing this form. There's an example of going into a form. Get rid of that harsh outline, just to go back with your eraser and to clean it up. Let's see, 5 more minutes and then we'll take a little break and then we'll just finish it up. Oops. Taking my big step back. So a lot of with charcoal is material process. But I am trying to capture this dramatic sense of light. And I think charcoal is really good for that. It does take a little bit of effort to work it in sometimes. I still seem to have not found my materials groove. I ran out of a good pad that was serving me well with these different things, but you know, sometimes even within a box of vine charcoal, you get different vine charcoals that behave a little differently with various materials. Some of your compressed charcoals might play a little differently than one other brand versus another. And it's a little frustrating. I'm over here a little frustrated, but it's nothing to get too worked up about. Just keep your values in mind and just figure out what works well for you in terms of handling. Let's see. I'll probably go back in. It's also a little difficult to be working this way and not actually being able to blow my charcoal dust away. It's really kind of muddying up my white spaces. So if you guys are working from charcoal at home, you'll be able to blow it a little more frequently probably, so that your dust isn't just sitting all the time. But it's funny, I was just noticing myself, charcoal's got a weird way of sort of settling. Like I'm going into some of these darker areas and I've put a layer of wash down, and sometimes it wants to just eat itself right back up, like it'll work itself up. But if you let it sit, I don't know if it's the moisture in the room, the molecules are attaching to each other, but sometimes if you just let the charcoal sit, it creates some kind of bond. I don't know, and it makes it easier for this vine charcoal to, you see now this, whereas before it might have picked up and pulled off of each other. I gave it a little bit of time, I was getting frustrated with it, so I just left it alone. I don't know. My breath, the moisture, I don't know, the tendency for the molecules to want to grab onto one another. But these are things you're gonna, you know, all these sorts of issues come along with any medium. Any medium's got its pluses and minuses. And you know, certainly as an artist, discovering what mediums you like, I think is very important. What mediums are able to give you the greatest control of expression, for sure. But if you want to eventually get into painting, if you want to progress from drawing to painting, I highly, highly advocate for using charcoal. It promotes working additively and subtractively. You'll see it moves around a little bit like paint. Alrighty, Siri, why don't you take a little break? Here's an example of me moving the charcoal over contours of the body and feeling that rib cage, kind of moving my material in that direction. I'm also an impatient modeler, if I'm being honest. I don't have a lot of patience for very fine modeling, like right away. That's why I think I gravitate towards charcoal over other more precise materials. You see me use this blending stomp a lot like a paintbrush, or maybe even more of a sculpting tool than a paintbrush. Finger. Moving things around, keeping important value blocks in place as best as I can. Ready for the last one, Steve? Okay, and then your one foot past the other foot a little. Perfect, right there. And then if you can lean your head a little, whatever feels. That looks good. You can move your head wherever it feels comfortable, Siri. That might be resolved in that section. Last 5 minutes, you guys. I'm just going in with this white pastel now and hitting some highlights. I don't know if it's the best choice, but materiality wise, I feel it's necessary for a couple moments here. Mostly to reestablish any of those whites I've lost. This process keeping. May take a little working in. Make sure your fingers are clean. This paper's got, as I'm sure many of your drawing papers, not a pure white. It might be a different color. And I think in that case that's fine. White kind of plays nicely with cream in my opinion. But just make sure to spend a little time integrating it into the overall harmony of the piece, if you choose to do it. I don't know if this was the wisest choice, honestly, but just kind of in those key highlight places. Alrighty, guys. I think that just about does it. We have 1 more minute. Let me look at Siri, see if there's any final things. Now, granted, I'd probably keep working on this even at this stage that it's in. But all these drawings are going to go through different phases. You might not finish this one as much as you would like to, or your long drawing for that day. Just try and always get to as far a point as you can, and you can be happy with when you walk away for the day. Sometimes you might come back to them, sometimes not. But that's, I think, one of the beauties of working expansively is if you're not, even if you don't render everything, if you work expansively and everything has been considered, it looks whole. It doesn't just feel like a study. It feels like a considered drawing, even when it's not completely fully rendered. It's the last dark of her hair. Alrighty, Siri. Thank you, dear. You can hop up. I'm just going to show this to them and chat for a few seconds. Okay, you guys, here we go. Get that as even as I can. All right. So working with my charcoal, my edge contours, you can see I've considered some contours on the legs. Here's the And you can see the potential for further rendering. You know, some of those really highly rendered images you see on the web take a long, long time. This blocking in phase, you know, I could spend even more time on it, but I guess I'm fairly satisfied with it. Just try and always get as far along as you can for every one of these long drawings, and eventually you'll start getting past more further and further steps with each one. Okay, you guys, so that concludes our third session with Siri. We're going to talk about that makeup of that one time at some point, but I will see you guys all live at 9 a.m. on Thursday. We'll talk about this and we'll talk about your evening assignment for that day. All right, everybody, have a good Tuesday.